Hello, welcome to another episode in my World War II Legacies stories of World War II veterans. My name is Kayleen Reusser, and each week I will be bringing you a story that I have written and put into one of 4 volumes. I have interviewed 200 World War II veterans and put their stories into books. Today I will be reading to you about a story about Lewis Harrison Hall, who served in the Army Air Corps, which was the precursor for the Air Force in Europe. At 0:30 hours on June 6 of 1944, Harrison or Harry Hall of Fort Wayne and other flight mechanics were awakened from their bunks at an airbase in eastern England. "We were told to eat breakfast and get the planes ready to fly," he said. "The pilots would be taking off before dawn." Hall was crew chief of the 61st Squadron for the 8th Air Force's 56th Fighter Group. Born in 1920 on a farm in DeKalb County in Indiana, Hall had seen planes in the sky as a child and knew he wanted to fly. "I told people I wanted to be an airplane driver," he said. "I didn't know the word for pilot." His family had moved to Athens, Tennessee. After Hall graduated from Athens High School in 1938, he returned to DeKalb County to work. Despite the scarcity of money during the Depression, he applied for pilot training at Smith Field in Fort Wayne. Hall enlisted in the Army Air Corps, but failed the color blindness test for pilots. Unwilling to give up his dream of being around planes, he trained as a mechanic. Hall was at Keesler Field in Biloxi, Mississippi on December 7, 1941, when news arrived about the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor. When the U.S. declared war on the Axis powers, Hall was sent to England and assigned to work on P-47s at air bases near the villages of Peterborough, Colchester, and Boxstead. Hall's eye for detail was quickly noticed, and he was promoted to crew chief. "I made sure the planes were in working order," he said. "Our mission was to bomb factories and strafe airports, cities, and buildings." Sadly, hundreds of pilots were lost during the war. Their deaths were keenly felt among the personnel at the air bases. "I remembered what President Abraham Lincoln said when he lost an election. It was like stubbing your toe, but you're too big to cry." Perhaps to deflect the stress from their work, crews assigned humorous names to aircraft. Hall's planes were named for Snow White's 7 dwarfs. One pilot wanted to be a doctor, so we named his plane Doc. In September of 1944, C-47s and gliders were prepped to fly for Operation Market Garden, an invasion to overtake Axis forces in the Netherlands. Allied troops in the Netherlands had been besieged and were running low on supplies. Special belly fuel tanks hung under the C-47s for longer range missions. Hull's crew didn't fill them with fuel, but K rations for troops. Unfortunately, bad weather kept the crews from dropping them. "We ended up eating the rations," said Hull. Another time, a P-47 pilot was shot down over enemy territory. His body was never found, and he was believed to have died in the explosion. For years, Hull hoped a fault with the plane had not contributed to the pilot's death. After the war, he was thrilled to see the downed pilot at a military reunion. "We greeted each other as brothers," he said. "The pilot told me his body had been thrown clear of the explosion, and he had been taken to a German hospital, where he became a prisoner of war until the war ended." Then the pilot said the words Hall had always hoped to hear: "Sergeant, my plane never flew better than that day." The war ended in September of 1945, and Staff Sergeant Hall was discharged a month later. He was awarded a Bronze Star for heroic meritorious achievement. A souvenir Hall brought home from the war was a plane model made of melted bronze from 50 caliber bullets. Plexiglass on the bottom was from the side panel canopy of a downed P-47. A British soldier started to make it from plane parts, he said. He gave it to me and I finished it. Hull worked as a plane mechanic at Smithfield and for Bunge in Decatur, Indiana, while earning his commercial, instrument, and multi-engine ratings as a pilot. Hull married Evelyn Beck, and their two sons later served in the military. "I was glad when World War II ended," said Harrison Hull, "but I would not trade my experiences with aviation during that time for anything." So that's a story about Harrison Hull taken from my book 3 in my World War II Legacies series. We gave our best. American World War II veterans tell their stories. And just something very special about Harrison Hull, he just recently celebrated his 103rd birthday. So, thanks for listening. I'm so glad to be able to present these stories to you. I hope that it makes your patriotism grow by leaps and bounds. We live in the greatest country in the world, and I'm just so privileged to be able to have these stories from veterans to present. Thanks to the veterans watching. I hope everyone watching will subscribe to this channel, tell someone about it, and tune in next week where I'll present another exciting story. Thank you.